Hey, welcome. This is Samantha Hartley, and I'm coming to you live today on a kind of a gloomy day. Got a lot of extra light added in here so that I can see you and you can see me. I wanted to